Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share some projects that I have created using the celebratory SIPs papers and also these coordinating products from the collection. I've created one layout and 4 cards using just 2 sheets of pattern paper and some supporting cardstock. And today I just want to share with you a couple of quick techniques that I have used with these products here. So I've already created my layout. I'm just going to bring that in quickly so that you can have a little look at it. The projects that I'm sharing are from a workshop that I just ran last Sunday, and the ladies received a registration kit that included instructions to create this scrapbook layout and the 4 cards that I just mentioned. And there are a couple of techniques that I used that I just thought might be interesting just to create a YouTube video and to share these pages. And I love the freshness of this paper pack. There are 6 different patterns in this paper pack. You get 12 sheets. So I will put a link to that down below so you can check out all the papers. I've actually used all my paper up over the weekend and making up all the kits for the ladies. But I thought it would be fun to share with you how I've done the colouring, how the embossing folder works, and also just how I've placed things with this. So I'm going to go ahead and just start doing a little bit of stamping while I talk about what I've created. You can see I've got this stamp set here that I've used quite a lot on the layout. From this collection, there's also an embossing folder. I love these little mini ones, and this is Glass and Gardens, and I've used the glass one as you just saw before when I pointed to that. And of course there's this stamp set here that I've used for the embellishment. So I'm going to show you how I coloured those in and dressed the glasses up just a little bit. And I've used these fabulous party alphabet dies. I absolutely love them. I'm going to be using these again and again. And for the cards, I've got stylish shapes and the textured notes dies. So I'm just going to put those aside and bring in a piece of paper, because I want to do some stamping with you. Now I'm just going to stamp a few of these glasses here. Now with this stamp set, it does come with dies so that you can cut these out with dies if you wish to. These are fairly simple shapes, so if you don't want to do the die cutting, you can just fussy cut them. I'm just going to stamp a few of these glasses just going up here, because then I can cut this down and run this easily through my die cutting machine. I can use my little mini one if I want to. So I'm just going to do these ones here just to show you. I need to get out some post-it notes. So I'm just going to put those there ready for me to go. And then I'm going to bring in some inks. Now on the sample that I just showed you, I've used Granny Apple Green, Daffodil Delight, and Timid Tiger. Timid Tiger is one of the new in colours, and it's a gorgeous orange. So I'm just going to colour these ones in here. I'll probably just do 3 on camera with you. I'm just going to bring in some scratch paper, and you can see I've tapped off here so that I don't get any harsh lines at all. And then I'm going to come off the edge and just blend some ink up and into the tumbler. I'm not worried about trying to keep inside the lines at all. And then I'm just loading it up again. And now I'm using a little bit of heavier pressure and just blending that in. I'm not going all the way up the glass. I just want a bit of soft colour here because I want to stamp over top of this. Now, normally what I would recommend is to do all of the black inking and put it aside so that it can dry a little bit. I'm just going straight in here. I'm going to do these all in one go. I'm going to use some Daffodil Delight and do exactly the same process. What I'm doing is basically putting most of the colour down the bottom of the glass and then coming up a little bit when some of that colour has come off my blending brush. And that's about all I need for the yellow. And then I'm going to come in with Granny Apple Green and do exactly the same thing. So always remembering to tap off. I've got a bit of fluff there. I'll just move that out of the way. And then I'm going to come up the glass with that. And then I want to just put a little bit more colour down the bottom. I was a little bit heavier handed with that one, but I haven't gone too heavy handed, so I think that is still just fine. Now this is the easiest and quickest way of colouring. This stamp set does not have a solid image that you can then stamp on the inside. If you wanted to, you could cut them out with coloured paper and then trim it down, but I'm just doing this very quickly and very easily. I'm just going to get a couple of Post-it notes, and I'm just going to do some very simple masking here with my Post-it notes, just up to the edge of the glass, because I want to add this citrus element in here. Now, I didn't put a whole lot of citrus in here, but this one is a taller one. So I'm going to do, I think, 3 pieces. I'm going to just come in a little bit more. So this, I think, looks absolutely wonderful, and I'm going to bring up the pieces that I've created closer to the camera so that you can see when these are die cut, you don't really notice that it's gone outside of the lines. So I just need to clean off my stamp, and then what I usually do is just tap it off just in case it's a little bit too wet before I go into the next one. And then I'm going to add exactly the same thing with the Daffodil Delight colour that I've used here, and then just piece these around. Now, if you go a little bit outside of the line, it really doesn't matter, and they don't all have to be contained within this lower section. They can float around a little bit. And then I just need to do this. Where's the sticky part? There. I need to do this with the Timid Tiger. So I'm just going to clean my stamp off again and just stamp that off. So you can get a lot of these glasses done in one go. If you want to have a whole lot of them, you could stamp up a whole sheet of these and just go through, do your ink blending, and have a little bit of a production line going. Just going to have one down here. Now, I find that sometimes 2 might look a little bit odd. You can see I've gone over the lines there. It doesn't really matter. But because these are right next to each other, I think I need to bring another little piece up there. So it's just something that you want to look at. I'm going to overlap it slightly. And you can see that's more balanced with the 3 of them. This one here, I don't mind with just 2 pieces because they're offset and they're on a diagonal. This one here, you can see I've spread them out. I stamped 2 of these down the bottom part of the glass, and it just looked a little off balance. So just have a look at them while you're creating them, and you'll be able to fix them up as you go. So I'll bring this up to camera so that you can have a look at the shading that I've done with the blending and also the stamping. Now, the Daffodil Delight is a little bit more subtle, so that's why I went a lot lighter with my hand when I was doing the blending brush. I didn't press down too heavily, but these 2 colours stand out really well, and I love the subtleness of this and how quick and easy it was to create these glasses full of what looks like liquid and also some gorgeous little elements in there. Now, with this stamp set, you can stamp a line across the top of your glasses here so that shows where the fill is. I would probably recommend doing that when you're using markers or pencils or whatever colouring medium you want. For me, I don't mind that it's a soft edge at the top here. I didn't feel it necessary to put that piece in, but that will fit across both widths of the 2 different glasses. And I love that there's so many different options to create some gorgeous cocktails. So let's bring the projects back in. And I'll start with the scrapbook layout, and I'll just talk you through what I've created here. So here are my glasses. Put one up on foam tape, and you can see how gorgeous they look on this paper with that stamping. And no one's really noticing the outside line colouring by using a blending brush here. I think it works really well. And the little gems that I've used are actually the Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink gems, because these are clear with a little bit of gold, and I think that they look gorgeous on top of a drink here. So you can see I've got one placed on here, looks very sweet, and one up here as well. So when you're looking at your gems, you can think about how they react with what's underneath them. With the clear ones, you're going to get the colour coming through. So this looks a little bit lemon. When you put it onto solid paper or pattern paper, this is actually Secret C pattern paper that comes with the pack, and I'll show you what the reverse side of that looks like in a minute with the cards. But you can see that gives it a much darker look to what you get when you put it on a lighter colour, and this one brings out the Berry Burst colour. So for me, I love the clear gems. Now you might be having a look at this little title that I've got here, and this is using the Party Alphabet dies, and I've double stacked those with Secret C as the base, and then used that as a drop shadow, and then I've used White Willow on the top. I've cut my letters first and then embossed them. If you embossed first and then run the letters through with your dies, you will flatten this out a little bit, and I wanted as much texture as I possibly could. And I actually cut these letters from the inside pieces of these photo mats. So I'm going to bring in the cards now. I'm just going to leave this off to the side. And I just wanted to show you with the embossing folder, I've got 2 letters from one piece here. If you wanted to create a title where it sort of graduated up a little bit, you could use it and put the letters across this way. It would be more solid at the bottom, and then have the glass cut feature sort of fade out and be less textured at the top. You could probably use this on the actual coloured piece. I'm going to die cut one of those ones that I just coloured in and run that through the embossing folder and show you what that looks like, and we'll see if the experiment works. Now, I've had quite a few questions about my guide, so I thought I would just bring this in so that I can actually show you how it looks in real life. So this is from a workshop event where I provide both scrapbooking and card kits in one piece. And I'll have a link below if you want to buy the guide for this one here. And you can see I've got full color photos. I have measurements of where to place things. I've got preparation and assembly instructions, so it's pretty detailed. And then what I also do, depending on the project, is give a little cutting guide, because there are a lot of pieces to this with the cards. So everything is laid out for you, ready to go. And then I have the cards as well for this one. So that's all laid out, ready for you to create the project. So this one comes with quite a few instructions because it's a scrapbooking and card guide. Sometimes I have just a layout guide and it will have that, but my full scrapbooking guides, where I use a full packet of paper, are pretty much like this with all the layouts and how they're laid out, but it's got a full cutting guide as well to help you create the whole projects. So I hope that clears up some of the questions that I have been getting via email and inbox as well, and in person. I just wanted to show you what they look like. Okay, so now onto the cards. This one here was actually taught to me by my upline quite a long time ago, and it was when Close to My Heart had the little gnomes. I'm going to bring that in. And I've never actually taught this online or in person before, so I thought it would be fun to recreate this card using the celebratory sips. And you can see it's a little bit interactive. It folds out like this. It's quite a simple design to do. It's one sheet of a base, and then you add the other layers to build it up and create a cool little opening effect. So this pattern here is actually the other side of this Secret C tone-on-tone pattern that comes with this pack. I absolutely love this paper. It's so pretty. And Secret C, I think, is a great neutral. It almost looks black on this project, but it is a very dark blue. So this one here just opens up like that, and I've decorated the insides as well. This is where the textured notes dies come in, and I've put a tumbler inside here with a drink. You can see I've sliced through that citrus part here and just put that in the glass just to dress it up a little more. And you could definitely do that on the scrapbook layouts as well if you wanted to. But I love how this looks, and it's quite easy to put back together. You just have to make sure that you don't put any adhesive on this upper section here where the glasses are. So this was my more intricate one to create. These two are like a 2-for-1. So I've got a base of Secret C for a card panel. I've got a textured note die cut piece for the pattern paper on top, and I've die cut the party alphabet dies, and I've just put high on this one. And it's a fairly plain looking card, but because the pattern paper is quite busy, I really didn't feel like I needed to add anything else. But as I said before, I'm going to cut out some of those tumblers that I just created and run them through this embossing folder, so we might have a little play and see how they look on this. So this one is basically the letters from this cut here. Instead of using just Secret C cardstock, I've used this tone-on-tone paper here. I'm going to bring that up so you can see the pattern there. It's very subtle, and it really fits with the theme of the celebratory sips with the glasses and bubbles and things like that. But I think this would also be fabulous paper for masculine layouts as well. So I've simply popped the high up on dimensionals. I've used those same gems, and you can see they look a nice dark color here, whereas these ones here, I've used the ones that are a little bit more pink. So I've used the pretty and pink ones, not the strawberry slush, just to make them stand out a little bit more on the pattern paper. And on the inside, I've just put a leftover strip of this piece on the bottom here. Now this one here is all about texture, and these 3 cards are the 3.5 by 5 inch note cards. So I've embossed a panel here with the embossing folder. I've created 2 of the drinks. I've got my little wedge here tucked in, and I've used Celebrate. I used it on here as well, and that's from a new stamp set called Blooming Phrases. So this one is going to work really well with any strip type sentiments that you wanted to add to a card. So I love how this looks, but you might be noticing this other little pattern on here. So this is another way to add texture, not using the embossing folder that I'm going to try in a minute, but this is another way to add texture to this large tumbler. So I'm just going to bring this set in here and show you the dies. So the dies also cut out pieces of this pattern paper as well as the tumblers and elements on the other pattern papers as well. So it's quite flexible. So this is the outside piece for the die, and you can cut the entire tumbler out of that. But then if you use this piece here on the inside of it, you will get this gorgeous texture. So you can see there's a lot of lines in here. Basically, it just does the texture. It doesn't cut around the outside at all. It will just cut into the paper and leave the outside edges intact. And I love how that looks on the glass here. So that gives a gorgeous cut glass look as well. You could use this so many different ways. I did try using it on my alphabet shapes, but because these are a little bit large, when I went to do the next one, it sort of flattened the cuts out a little bit when I ran that through. So maybe that's something that it's not quite suited for this one. I've just had a thought, but I think it would work really well on these alphabet a la mode ones because it's wide enough. So you could die cut this and then do this pattern. You wouldn't see too much. I'm not sure how it would work. That's another thing I probably need to have a little experiment with. So this is something that I look at, especially with Stampin' Up! Dies, when they've got an element like this. Yes, its intended use is for this large tumbler, but I think you can also use it for other purposes as well. If you had a little 3x4 journal box, I think, no, it would have to be a little bit smaller. If you had a 2-inch journaling box, you could cut this into the edge of it and have a little decorative edge for a little journal box. And I think that would look really sweet as well. So lots of different purposes for dies when you look at them and open them up, have a look at what's contained in there, and you'll be able to create some different things. So I'm going to get my die cutting machine out, and I'm just going to separate this a little bit so I might be able to run 2 in one pass. So I'm going to do all of this live on camera with you. I'm not going to edit out any little bits. Got this one. This is sturdy enough and big enough for me to do some more blending on later. You could die cut the pieces and then do the blending, but there's not too much to hold on to. So I prefer to work with a larger piece of paper so that I've got somewhere for my fingers to hold on to while I'm using my blending brush. I'm just going to scooch this all off to the side and bring in my little mini Stampin' die cutting machine. And I've got all the platforms that I need, and I just need to get dies out. I should have done that before when I had them all out here. So I need this one and this one. You can see I was doing a little demo for this one, so I used the other side of that paper. So I did that yesterday when I was doing my demonstration on how to blend that in for the workshop. Well, it wasn't yesterday. By the time this goes to air, it'll be a couple of days ago. So I just need to put my dies on here. Now you can use tape if you like, if you think it's going to move around, especially if your plates are warped a little bit. But I think I should be fine with this. So I'm going to run this through. And I usually put my dies on an angle when I'm running it through a machine so that the blunt end or the flat end doesn't hit the rollers in one piece. So when you run something through that's got a long flat edge to it, you can hear it bending or making a cracking noise a little bit more. So that's one there and one here. I'm just going to do the other one while I've got it out. So I usually like to line this up, especially if it's a piece that I know is not going to move too much. I don't mind not using any washi tape at all. So I'm just going to run this one through. Now with this machine, you saw me push it a little bit into the rollers there at the beginning. I'm just going to do that again. Sometimes it's easier if you push it a little bit so you know that it's grabbed, and then you can start winding. Sometimes when you're holding it, It may not grab to go through. My one is working fine. I haven't really offset it too much, but another trick is to offset the plates a little bit, and that will give it purchase to make it roll through very easily. So that's just a tip with this little mini machine, and it also works on the large machine as well. Right, so I'm just going to put these back in here so that I don't lose them. And then I'm going to do my little experiment. So let's see what it looks like with this one. Actually, I might show you on camera what the tumble glass looks like. So I'm going to get this one out and use this die. Now you can do this in the same pass. So you can die cut these two elements together, but you do need to use tape to hold them together because you don't want them to jump around on your machine and cross over each other, because it can damage and also bend the dies. And you don't want to leave any cut lines in areas that you don't want them with your dies. So let's just wind this one through. So you can see when I pop this out, it doesn't cut the outside pieces at all, but it has put these gorgeous cuts into that tumbler there, and then you can still see the lines through it. So I think that looks really cool. Now I'm going to just try work out my platform here. I don't need my cutting plates, and get the embossing folder. Now this could be a fail, so who knows, but I'm going to try it and then we'll look at it. I'm not going to edit this part out at the end. So I've got my 2D embossing folder. With this one, I've got my base plate and my number 3 plate. It tells you here exactly what you need to do, and it also has it on your platform for the base plate as well for the cutting guide. So all of them are labeled really well, and that's really handy. You don't have to go off and look at anything else. It's right there on your platforms. Okay, this did jump around a little bit when I ran it through, but it still worked just fine. So here's the embossed version. You don't see the stamped image so much on this one, but you can see it on the Timid Tiger. But I quite like how that looks too, and it gives a gorgeous feel to it. So that's just some extra options that you can use this embossing folder for. The other thing that I have seen someone do is they've used a piece of acetate and they've put that over the glass, and I'm not sure how they attached it, maybe with some clear glue, but that gives a nice shiny sort of surface to this glass to make it look more glass-like. So I love how that sort of looks, but I'm not quite sure how I would attach it, whether I would score this and then push it up against here and maybe attach it with a regular tape behind here. So you could do that. So now I'm actually doing quite a few experiments online. It's not a live video, but I might leave all of this in so that you can see. So then I would use some tape. Okay, so now I'm just going to put some Stampin' Seal Plus on here. Oh, I'm ripping up. So you've got to be a little bit careful. Because this is textured and it's been through, it's a little bit altered. Now I'm just going to put that up there like that. And I'm going to get a pair of scissors. I'm not using my regular scissors because I'm cutting through acetate here, and I don't want to blunt them. So then I'm just following around with this. Let's just see how this looks at the end. This might work. If you have any ideas of glue or what you could use as an adhesive, so you can just put the adhesive on top, you can let me know in the comments. But this, I think, works quite well because these have a flat edge. I'm just trying to trim away this little excess piece at the top. But because this has a flat edge at the top, it was quite easy just to use my bone folder and fold over a little piece of acetate and put that on there. And you get this gorgeous glass look. There's no actual adhesive on this part here. If you wanted to put it onto a card, it's not going to flip up too much because I've scored that with my bone folder. So it just adds another little element that you can add to give texture to these glasses. So I really love how this looks with the 3 different pieces on here. Or if you wanted to, and you wanted to just keep it quick and easy, you can just do the blending like it is done on this layout here. But I love this little acetate piece. That might be a little trick that I store away for another workshop demo at some stage for something. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. It's a little bit different from what I normally do, but I wanted to try and get back into doing my regular posts on a Tuesday here in South Pacific. It's been a little bit busy this last month, so a couple of my Tuesday posts have been missing. So I'm trying to regularly post on a Tuesday, and then hopefully, if I have time, another video on either Friday or Saturday of the same week. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, that means my Tuesday date will be a Monday for you. Now I've got a little bit of mess to clean up. I'm going to do that before I move on to my next project. Happy crafting, everyone, and bye for now.